Good morning, guys. So we talked about subject-verb agreement. Today's language arts lesson is kind of an extension of that. We're just going to talk about some of the common errors or mistakes that we tend to make with subject-verb agreement. You will need to do language arts page 46 after this video. All right, common errors in subject-verb agreement. Let's review the rules. The first rule, a singular subject agrees with a singular verb. All right, so remember, when we have a singular subject or a singular noun, it doesn't end in S, does it? Plural nouns end in S. Singular nouns do not. So remember a trick to remembering the agreement between the subject and the verb. If it's a singular subject or noun, it doesn't have an S on the end, so the verb does. Now that won't always work, but that's how I tend to remember, a little trick I use to remember it. All right, so a plural subject agrees with a plural verb. So just like when a singular subject and a singular verb are kind of opposite from one another, so is the plural subject and plural verb. So we know plural nouns oftentimes end in S. Well, when we're talking about agreement between plural subjects and plural verbs, the plural verb won't have an S. All right, let's look at your example to go along with these two rules on your activity page 46. The rhythm of the words attracts some people to poetry. All right, so remember, when we're looking for the subject, we're looking for the simple subject. The rhythm of the words is the complete subject. But what's the simple subject? What attracts some people to poetry? It would be the rhythm. Okay, and rhythm would be singular. So look at the verb attracts. What do you see at the end of it? An S. Rhythm attracts. The rhythm attracts. All right, so let's change that and let's make rhythms a plural subject. Or rhythm, a plural subject. The rhythms of the words attract some people to poetry. So now we've changed it up. Rhythms ends in S. We've made it plural. So notice what happens to attract. It doesn't have an S. All right, here is another one of the rules for subject-verb agreement that people tend to make errors or mistakes with. When a sentence begins with here or there, use a verb that agrees with the subject that comes after the verb. Let's look at the example on page 46. Here is a list of famous poets. So it says, okay, use a verb that agrees with the subject that comes after the verb. So we wouldn't use here. Here wouldn't be our subject. Where's our verb? Is. Here is a list. Okay, so list would be our subject. And list is singular, so we say is. Now, what if it was lists, plural? Would we say here is a list of famous poets? Or would we say here are the lists of famous poets? So singular, one list, we say is. Plural, lists, we say are. Here are the lists. Here is a list. All right, the next rule. Use a plural verb with a compound subject that is joined by and. We know when we join things with and that we're adding two things together, right? So let's look at the example. Shakespeare and T.S. Eliot were great poets. So because we're talking about Shakespeare and T.S. Eliot, we're talking about two people, which is more than one. So it would be a plural subject. So because it's plural, we would say were. Now what if it was just Shakespeare? Shakespeare was a great poet. T.S. Eliot was a great poet. But when we put them together in a compound subject, we're talking about both of them, not one or the other, both of them. So we use the plural verb, were. All right, so now let's look at the opposite of that. When the compound subject is joined by the conjunctions or nor, you make the verb agree with the subject that is closer to it. So let's look at the example. Neither Beowulf nor the Song of Roland has a known author. So before we were talking about a compound subject joined with and, meaning that makes it plural, Shakespeare and T.S. Eliot. Here, we say neither nor, which means one or the other. Neither Beowulf nor the Song of Roland. So when you have neither nor or either or, you go with the subject closest to the verb. So in this sentence, the Song of Roland is closest to the verb. So what I like to do is just kind of cover up everything before the Song of Roland because I have that conjunction nor. So now I just read it like the other words before the Song of Roland aren't even there. The Song of Roland has a known author. Now, if it were a compound subject with and, Beowulf and the Song of Roland have known authors. But because we're using neither nor, just like if we used either or, we consider it a singular subject. All right, there's your lesson on common errors we make with subject-verb agreement. You can now complete page 46 of your language arts assignment for today. If you have any questions or you need any help, you know how to get in touch with me. Have a great day.